Thank you for joining us for the Fragrance Foundation's third annual Diverse Perspectives webinar, an integral part of our Fragrance Forward TFF initiative. Fragrance Forward TFF serves to galvanize the entire U.S. fragrance industry to work together so that the industry truly reflects, values, and celebrates every person everywhere. As an executive director of the Fragrance Foundation, I work closely with our president, Linda Levy, the TFF team, the Fragrance Foundation membership, and our strategic partner, Helen Shelton, Global Chief Diversity Officer at Finn Partners, to ensure that people of all backgrounds have access to opportunities they need to build a fragrance career. This also means providing access to information, insights, and individuals whose respective journeys are truly an inspiration to us all. So welcome to Intentional Inclusivity, the value of diverse perspectives. It is now my pleasure to introduce Linda Levy, President of the Fragrance Foundation. Linda?
Thank you, Sharnae, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Launched in fall 2021, Fragrance Forward TFF is dedicated to advancing industry DEI by creating opportunities for people of diverse backgrounds to learn about and have access to the fragrance industry. Our signature webinars, along with other key initiatives, are a proactive way to drive the conversation around DEI into action. We are therefore pleased to present today Intentional Inclusivity, the value of diverse perspectives, an unprecedented look inside at the fragrance industry from a variety of perspectives. Joining us are industry leaders and friends, Adriana Medina, Carlos Huber, and Eduardo Valadez. Before we begin, I am super delighted to introduce our moderator, Birmania Rios. Birmania is an Emmy-winning broadcaster and trailblazer. Her career and talents have broken barriers and shown us all what commitment, excellence, and determination can do to help us achieve our goals. Birmania was born in New York, the daughter of Dominican immigrants. At the age of 4, she relocated to Puerto Rico with her mother. She spent her adolescence and early adulthood on the island, and upon finishing her studies in communications from the University of the Sacred Heart in San Juan, she then relocated back to New York. Birmania began her professional career as a weather anchor at Telemundo's local newscast. Just 2 years later, she began working for Univision Network, where she would remain for 25 years, first as a weather anchor, then as an entertainment show host. Subsequently, Birmania worked as a general assignment reporter and later became a news anchor. Her last 13 years at Univision saw Birmania serve as the New York correspondent for the national morning show Despierta America. Today, she is the beloved and fabulous weekend news anchor for New York One Noticias at Spectrum News. In addition to her career as a journalist, Birmania devotes her time to motherhood and her other passions, which I so agree with. They include traveling, wine, and fragrance. It is my honor to officially welcome Birmania Rios to the fragrance community today.
Thank you, Linda, for the lovely introduction. I am truly honored and excited to be with all of you today to moderate today's conversation. International inclusivity, the value of diverse perspectives, is such a timely and important theme for today's discussion. And it is my pleasure to welcome our panelists, Adriana Medina, Carlos Huber, and Eduardo Valadez. Would each of you please introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Adriana Medina, Vice President Perfumer for Givaudan Fragrances in New York.
Hi, I'm Carlos Huber. I'm creator and fragrance developer behind Arquiste Parfumer, a niche brand based here in New York City.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eduardo Valadez, and I'm the Director of Marketing for diptyque Americas, and I'm based here in New York City.
Adriana, Carlos, Eduardo, thank you. What a remarkable group. Our first question is for all panelists. Intentional inclusivity is defined as actively seeking and including diverse voices, perspectives, and people in the decision-making process. How has intentionality played a role in your respective career journeys?
I'm going to start by answering that, especially in fragrance development and working for a fragrance house, we have an internal team of experts and voices in the development business. So we have the lab, we have the marketing department, evaluation team, and sales team, and everyone is very much immersed into fragrance development and projects that we have going on. We try even the product on skin. We ask for everyone's opinion after using the fragrance. So we pretty much use the internal talent that we have inside, but also we do a lot of consumer testing. So we would love to hear what the consumer thinks about the fragrances that we're creating and which ones resonate well with them in order to get their opinion and their voices taken into accountability.
Yeah. I would also add to that, on the brand side of things, it's very important to look out for suppliers, for partners, for vendors, for contractors that can assist you, that can actually help you develop and create products that are part of that diverse and inclusive nature. We want to look for voices that are different from our own, and we want to include different points of view. So having a very open channel of communication also with customers is important. Seeing what they're interested in, what resonates with them, how different cultural backgrounds and heritage guide people in fragrance choices is very, very interesting. But I think it's very exciting and very a source of pride when I can actually share this with consumers with that, our bottles are made in Italy, but our manufacturing facility here in New York is an Indian-led company. So we have a little bit of the entire world here in New York, and we want to share that with the fragrance community.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think in terms of my career journey, and as I've built teams, marketing teams, I've made sure, obviously being a minority in this country, making sure that I give everyone an equal opportunity as I'm hiring, as I'm recruiting. I also want that diverse perspective. And of course, we're also hiring much younger, which have tons of opinions, but it's a fabulous thing. You want that, and you want, especially for a brand like diptyque, we want that diverse voice. It's really a part of our DNA to begin with, and it's important that I think your teams really reflect what it is, that message that the brand is trying to convey.
Equal opportunity is definitely key. Adriana and Eduardo, this one is for you. What are some of the challenges that you have faced and overcome in an industry that is predominantly white and European?
Well, I have to say, when I aspired to be a perfumer, there weren't that many women in my department in perfumery, and also of Hispanic origin. I have to say I had to wait a long time in order to be eligible to go to the perfumery school. But in the meantime, I took the time to learn from my peers, work harder to prove myself. But luckily, I was picked to join the perfumery team, and I have to say I'm very proud that I was recognized for my hard work and given the opportunity. So we fast forward 23 years later, and I have to say more than half of my team are women, and we are from diverse backgrounds as well as men. My team is very diverse. It's actually the only team that is so diverse compared to others. So it's definitely a proud moment.
Yeah, just to voice, I think, a little bit of what Adriana is also speaking to. Obviously, again, being a minority in this country, I've had to work harder, even as a male, to really prove myself. And but I think that resilience that I think my family has shown me to really persevere and to be somebody in this country, regardless of where you're from, has really paved the way for my career to really ignite that fuel of where I wanted to be in my career. What I think is so fascinating, and also tying a bit into what Adriana's speaking to, that the majority of her team are women, which I think is incredible, is that at our helm, in our Parisian headquarters, our global CEO is a woman. A lot of the global senior team are women, and they've been here for as long as I've been with the organization, and I respect immensely what they bring to the table. We've always have thought of men having that power, but when you see a woman have it, and this brand has grown, it actually gives me goosebumps when I think about it, because I think it really turns the tables on what we think should be that power in terms of this business, especially the fragrance industry. And so it's exciting to see someone like Adriana thriving and growing, but also that I see it reflected within the business that I'm in every single day.
Very inspiring testimonies. Adriana and Carlos, can you share some insights into the creative process and how your experiences and heritage inspire you?
Carlos, you want to go first?
Well, thank you, Adriana, for that. I'm incredibly inspired by my heritage and my background, and where I'm from. Originally born and raised in Mexico City specifically, and I'm still very close to Mexico, the culture, my family there, and it's incredibly valuable to me. So it's always part of the creative process. I'm inspired by history, I'm inspired by culture, I'm inspired by specific places, and I like telling stories that evoke a specific time and place. So where I come from and the stories that I grew up with, the city I was born in is a source of inspiration always. I also want to show the world what Mexico is about. And I want to show different points of view and different realities about Mexico that are not what maybe internationally are so well known. So it's important for me to always convey an image and an idea of Mexico that is wider, and it's actually even more diverse and more inclusive than what people think of it originally, because Mexico is not only this thing or the other. So I want to show the vibrancy of the culture. I want to show the warmth and the richness of the history and the warmth of the people, sorry. So it's even if we're working on a story that is based somewhere else in the world, there's a touch of Mexico in there. There's a Latin way of looking at it. There's our background that heavily informs how we create.
Good. I think in all of our work, we kind of put a little stamp of who we are. I'm originally from Colombia. I was born and raised there for 15 years. So I've been most of my time in the United States, but I never forget where I come from. And in fragrance, a lot of your memories or childhood memories are kind of reflected in the work that you do. So I'm known for, using colorful notes. And so my fragrance notes are colors. So there's a lot of yellow, a lot of red, a lot of orange and blue. And for me is working on that introduction, it's kind of putting yourself out there. And if you smell the fragrances that I've done, I've heard of people that say, oh my God, definitely it smells like you. It smells of your personality, your joy, your positivity. So a lot of your personality and goes into the work, and you see it there. You smell it there.
So true. Our next question looks at the marketing and storytelling process. Eduardo and Carlos, it's clear that marketing and communication are essential elements in creating brand stories and inspiring consumers to engage with brands. How do you ensure and infuse intentional inclusivity in your campaigns and storytellings?
Yes, so I can start with this. Again, the idea of cultural influences really plays such a big part in our brand. So it's, again, part of the DNA of who we are as a brand. It's one of the things that is exciting for me. And it really is reflected in how we showcase the brand, the types of partnerships, the artisans that we work with from around the world. A good example is last year we were celebrating our 60th anniversary, and because our brand is rooted in culture and art, we really wanted to celebrate that aspect of that inclusivity of men and women of different ages and backgrounds that were contributing to this incredible milestone in our history. The idea of those cultural references are so important to us that we want to make sure that they're also a very diverse perspective as well.
Yeah, I think for me in particular, you know, like I said, my Hispanic heritage is very important. My Mexican identity is very important, and it's not only part of like the copy and the description of every fragrance that we do. We, even on social media, every single story or post we make is always shared both in English and in Spanish, because we acknowledge that, you know, there's a lot of people that are interested in the brand because it's a Mexican-led brand, and I think that's very important. It's important to like talk to your customer with respect, with care, with warmth, and I think in that sense, you know, Hispanic people and Latin people really know how to do that with a lot of care, with a lot of warmth, with a lot of love.
Terrific. And a natural lead-in to our next question, which is for Adriana and Carlos. You have built an amazing career in the fragrance industry, beginning with your education and training. What advice would you give someone interested in learning about being a perfumer/brand creator from A to Z?
I have to say, you got to start with a very curious mind, and wanting to know more and learn more. I think you have to network yourself with people in the industry who are the experts, and ask questions on how you can advance in your career or what you need to do to get into the business. But specifically in perfumery, I have to confess, is a lot of work. You never stop learning. I mean, I've been a perfumer for 23 years, and new ingredients come into place, and I have to start playing with them. So really, it's like having the resilience, the attitude, the passion, and the curiosity to learn more and network yourself with people so then you can really be in it.
I think, Adriana, I mean, obviously, like the career you've had and the experience and the knowledge that Adriana is like a perfect example of truly a master in her field. But I think like what you said about resilience is very important. I think adaptability is very important as well. I think I'm a fragrance developer, so I had the chance to train under perfumers to guide me in evaluation and in development. But I always defer to their opinions and to their expertise as truly the creative forces behind development. So for me, adaptability, resilience, confidence is very important. I think you need to adapt to the conditions, the situation. I think what we learn from nature, the way animals and plants adapt, and they either contract or expand depending on their need, is really important. That is very important for a brand founder to understand those moments and see where you have to like save resources and expand. I think also resilience and confidence in your path is very important. There's a lot of times when we get there's obstacles, and especially I think being from minorities, you're always going to be confronted with, well, why are you meant to be here? Why should you deserve this? You're not from this field, you're not from this culture, you're not from this country. How do we support you? And you have to respond always with confidence and with kindness, because I think that's also important. It's really important not to feel confronted, but to feel strong in your stance. So like Adriana said, resilience, adaptability, confidence, and truly passion for what you do. Because when you have an open heart about what you're interested in pursuing, and you share that message with confidence and kindness, nobody will stop you.
That is beautiful. Authenticity is essential when it comes to representing diverse consumers in marketing. Eduardo, as marketers, what are some of the trends and insights you can share about intentionality when it comes to ensuring representation?
Yeah, so this is such a great question, and I think it obviously can go very deep here, but we'll try to keep this at the surface. I think that so many brands are having to really focus on the communities that they're building around their brands, right? And how that represents them, but also the need to have that community be diverse is incredibly important. Examples would be the types of influencers that you're working with. I think Carlos and Adriana mentioned this earlier, the labs, the teams that you're working with. These are all, I think, incredibly important, but that community needs to be a very diverse voice. I think the other thing, which maybe we don't talk about as much from a marketing perspective, is the language that we're using, that it feel inclusive, right? Especially working for a French brand, sometimes, you know, we try to be very try to be a little too esoteric sometimes, which is beautiful because it's fragrance, right? It's a language that we want to dream and to convey a message. But we also want it to be accessible. We want it to be something that you can easily read and feel like I'm there. I'm in this fragrance. I'm experiencing this through the language. So I think we don't talk a lot about this, but I think having inclusive language that really feels relatable is incredibly important, I think, as well.
Thank you. Our next question is for the entire panel. What can we do as a community to support Fragrance Forward TFF? Adriana.
Did I go first? Okay. I think in one important thing is that there's room for everybody. And it's important that, as Carlos said, you know, we accept one another and we're kind to one another. We're inclusive to one another. You know, fragrance is definitely a field that keeps growing with the many brands, you know, coming out to the market, and really supporting those brands that, you know, send the right message, you know, in terms of retail. There's opportunities. So anybody that wants to be up and coming, you know, let's just show support and work with them.
I think also not to put people in boxes is important, not to categorize. It's one thing to understand and think of diversity as touching upon different segments, let's say, of a market or of an audience. But it's important not to put them in a box, not to think that you already know what they want and this is what they get. I think it's important for brands out there, for industry leaders, for all of us to be reminded that it's about communication. You want to always talk openly and frankly with everyone, and you want your message to come across with everyone. But your message can be your own. You don't necessarily want to tailor it to a degree where it feels inauthentic, where it feels fake, and where you feel like this is being catered, you're being catered to just because you fit that box. I think it's important to value people and treat them with a lot of respect and with intelligence. I think the consumer, whether they are Hispanic or they're Black or they're white or they're Southeast Asian, we all want to be treated with respect and with intelligence. We don't necessarily want to be told, this is what you get. We want to be told all of this is open and available to you, but we are speaking in your language. I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Carlos. And I think that we sometimes also don't necessarily think about the community, even from a local perspective, right? A more regionalized perspective, and how important that is. The way that we connect with these communities, right, that are where we know we have specific demographics or pockets of populations that we want to target, but we also have to be mindful of how we are emerging ourselves within those communities. We want to be respectful of that, their voices, as Carlos was saying. I think it's so important in respecting that, and then how we then connect and speak to them from a marketing perspective really then makes a lot of sense, and it feels authentic versus feeling like we're just trying to check off a box and tap into that specific demographic or market, but prioritizing that intimacy with the community and really digging deep, I think, is important.
Studies have shown that Hispanic Americans comprise a significant market share when it comes to fragrance and have extraordinary spending power in the category. What are your thoughts on how we can advocate for and achieve representation that better reflects this?
I think that we have to keep in mind the Hispanic market has always had a love and passion for fragrance. It's actually part of who we are, and it complements our personality. Definitely something that we should be looking into more and exposing it more. I have to say many brands express a curiosity and interest in how to get to the Latin American market when it's so easy because we have been fragrance users since we were born. So it's definitely a market that is easy to get access to and get a lot more knowledge. And they definitely should invest more in getting to know what we like, and in order to make it more, globally accepted. But it's definitely a market that we can definitely get more of.
I think it's incredibly exciting, and it's a source of pride, I think, for me, as like somebody from, being Mexican, that perfume is such a big part of our culture. Fragrances are such a big part of our culture. Presentation and how you present in the world, and these tools of like, making yourself feel special are a big part of our culture, and that's something very interesting. I think being Hispanic, one thing that defines the Hispanic community is its diversity as well. So I think it's also important to consider that we all come from very different countries as well. We may speak one language, but we have different accents and different words and different ways of seeing the world. We come from different backgrounds. We are diverse in every single way. And that means that it's a very, like Adriana was saying, a very open, a very rich, and a very, full of opportunities and possibilities market. So I think specifically in the US, I think it's important for brands to look at their audiences more frankly, and again, with more kindness and with more respect, and to boost them, to speak in their language, to treat them, and to kind of value that this is a very elegant part of our culture, and we should be celebrated for that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree so much with Adriana and Carlos. I mean, I think from the moment that I was out of the womb, I was being sprayed with fragrance and agua de colonia, it was part of making sure that we looked good and that we smelled good. Mm-hmm. And I, again, agree with Carlos where it's what's so powerful about fragrance, right, is that it really allows us to present who and what we're feeling in that moment. And if we can really tap into that from a cultural perspective, I think it really lends itself to, again, tapping into what it is from a local community aspect and what we can learn from that. You can look at, sales across the US, and you're going to find pockets, right, where fragrance is incredibly a bigger part of our business. And then you can also look even to the raw materials or the types of fragrances that are selling in those markets because of that ethnic background, right? And the types of things that we naturally love. And then how do we turn that into incredible fragrances that really resonate and feel culturally part of who we are? I think it's also why I'm in this business, and I think it is because of the moment that I started wearing fragrance as a toddler. I haven't ever stopped wearing it, but it is what's so special about this industry and what we do, and the power that Carlos has to create fragrance and to really make us feel like we're transforming and transporting ourselves, and what Adriana is doing every single day and really tapping into her roots and creating incredible fragrance. It's so powerful, and I think if we just learn to listen to more of that, I think it can really go a really long way.
Mhm.
You're so right about that, baby cologne. Now, how can the industry be more accountable in driving intentional inclusivity and DEI across all levels, from scent making to marketing, creative, retail, and more?
Let the boys go first.
I think education is very important. I think the allowing, opportunities for education are very important. I think the more we reach out in early stages of like a person's like education and training to tell them, hey, this is an industry that is available to you, that you can become a perfumer one day, or you can become a brand creator one day, or a leader in marketing in the fragrance or beauty industry. I think recruiting and nurturing people from an early stage so that they know that this is an industry that they have access to is important. I think the more people see also across all levels, like Adriana was saying, that there's people in the lab, there's people in the marketing teams, there's people in like the leadership teams or in the perfume development teams that are of diverse backgrounds, that are Hispanic, that are Black, that are Asian. The more they see people that look like them, they'll know that, they have opportunities. So I think recruiting, I think opening the door, I think giving people more opportunities is really, really important and very, very valuable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think I mentioned earlier in one of the previous questions about the privilege that I've had to be able to build a team and being, again, a minority myself, wanting to make sure that my team had that it was a diverse team. And I think that then, to Carlos's point, is that am I allowing them those moments to be able to shine within the industry, to be able to grow and nurture their wants and what their careers are. I think that we also, from a corporate standpoint, I think that everything that even the Fragrance Foundation is doing with the Fragrance Foundation Forward, TFF, that this incredible pledge, which I actually keep at my desk and my team sees it all the time as well. These things are so important to really keep speaking about it, but it's also about us making sure that we're doing it and not just saying that we're doing it and really having that intention behind it. I think it's important, but I agree, really the education piece is so important. The more that Carlos is doing and really speaking about what he does and seeing a Mexican American man who's thriving and creating incredible fragrances, what Adriana's doing, people seeing this happen today, I think it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I have to say the power of social media has given me the opportunity for people to ask me how I got into this business and kind of guide them and tell them, you don't really have to become a perfumer if that's your main goal. We need experts in scent. Let them be evaluators, who for me are the co-creators when you're making a fragrance. Let them be marketers. Let them be salespeople. There's other opportunities besides becoming a perfumer. So I'm there to guide them. And they're so thankful that I am giving them this information. Another thing is we're in New York City, and this is a melting pot. And if you look at your organization and you see it, because you have to see it, if there's other cultures that are not represented as part of your team. I mean, we know the market is growing so much globally. Let's take a look and see how we can make a difference. I think as an organization, we've been looking at that to make sure that we have representation from other cultures and other genders and other nationalities, and bringing them into teams that they can learn, grow, and develop. So it's something that you also have to take the responsibility to kind of take a look, make your opinion, and then hopefully making a difference.
Thank you very much to all of you. For me, this has been a very enriching and inspiring experience. As I said at the beginning, what a remarkable group. Thank you.
Wow, great insights and perspectives. Thank you to this amazing panel, truly inspiring, and thank you, Birmania, for leading this discussion. Today's robust discussion represents the natural continuation of our work to advance industry diversity, and we will not stop. Let's close out today's session by taking the Fragrance Forward TFF DEI pledge. This is a signatory pledge in which TFF is literally pledging to commit ourselves to aligning with #Fragrance Forward TFF by taking actionable steps to make our industry truly and measurably inclusive, diverse, and equitable for everyone. I commit to being fragrance forward by holding myself and my company accountable at all levels to drive diversity, equity, and inclusion. I commit to breaking barriers for people of all backgrounds in launching, growing, and sustaining careers in the fragrance industry. I commit to actionable steps to broadening my perspective, changing my workplace, and changing the industry. This concludes our session, but let's continue to work together, strive together, and stand as one together as we take steps and take action. Please help us spread the message and get involved with the Fragrance Foundation's programs. We are intentional, we are inclusive, and we will not stop. #Fragrance Forward TFF forever.